Epilogue. Dolls and Puppets. BC.
It could be a trap,
May said.
Yeah, but anything you've thought of, he's thought of already,
BC said.
Her head was down, hands tickling to call sin into existence. Not quite. Not yet. Instead, she placed her hands on the twin blades she carried, a pair of heavy-weighted hand knives balanced to be thrown, yet strong enough to parry all but the heaviest swords. She'd had them commissioned to replace the ones that he had given her. Flanked by the full force of Velvet, BC and May had followed the senses of the trackers down to the waterfront and then south, far beyond Puntera, where the twisting docks and buildings gave way to old carved stone and the ruins of warehouses almost at the edge of old city limits. It was there, at the end of a long pier, that an old boathouse stood, looking as though it had been untouched for years. There were flashes of trailing gifts, energies left behind that looked sloppy, and the area stank of dozens of gifted. It was like he had been trying to be followed. Your call,
May said.
Breach team with us. Main force at a safe distance, ready to support. I'll take point. Men, kill anything that moves. The weight of the execution order weighed heavy through the main force as the elites stepped forward. The Vesos, Mjern, Kilian, and Parna. Followed 30 yards behind by the rest of their force, the breach team moved slowly and deliberately along the pier, casing the dark, unmoving boathouse. The swell and the strong breeze sent waves crashing against the wood of the old structure beneath them, groaning and creaking, but the wood remained firm. As they arrived, moving quickly to survey all access routes, May closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of the ocean breeze, and then immediately turned to BC. There are people in there, she whispered. Many. Some of the girls, I can tell, and others. Not as many as our team, though.
BC allowed herself a brief moment of hope, which she quashed. With the signal to the rest of their force, the team made their way into formation, eyes on the dark windows.
They'll know we're here,
May whispered. Not afraid, a declaration. But no projectiles had come, no sign of gifts, and there were no energies ready to rip forth from inside.
Yeah,
that's why we brought everyone, BC muttered. She signaled the main force to hold and waved the breach team forward. Moving silently, they approached the door to the boathouse. May and BC at point, they signaled to the team, stepped back, and kicked through the door with weapons and gifts at the ready. But the doors had been left open, and expecting more resistance, BC stumbled as she entered, rolling into a crouching position in the dark. Glowing hands in flame came alive, casting precious little light against the damp floor of the voluminous space as the elite team moved in, all alight and hair-triggered gifts at the ready. But there was no one moving, and no sound on the inside. Nothing except the gentle, whirring click of metal gears. BC froze in place, searching for the source. Behind her, the main force began to pour in, following the lead of the elite team. All of the elites searched for the whirring gears, which came from high above them in the creaking dark of the boathouse. The main force slowed under the weight of darkness and stillness from the elites. The clicks raced up, across the ceiling and into the center of the room, where those clicks chunked together, and a grand groan sent more churning gears into force.
"Get out!" BC called, spinning to run. "Go!"
But as the order took hold, and the fear raced in behind it, curtains dropped all around, revealing lanterns across the wall that cast the whole room in blinding, twisting light, and setting into play a canned, cheerful, tinkling music underlaid by muffled shrieks. Stopping in her tracks, BC dropped low and turned, joined by her force as they faced the new threat. Rotating in front of them on some carousel of wood and steel were the kidnapped forces of Velvet, Gold, Flare, Crystal, and Eclipse, bound and gagged and twisted into bizarre poses as they spun on individual platforms. Tied to each of them, twisting all the same but limp, were the bodies of Eterans, throats cut, mouths twisted into smiles and eyes wide open. A crescendo of the music brought a slithering of cable, and from the roof came the limp, bouncing bodies of 6 Eteran soldiers, sent dancing like dripping marionettes above the circling carousel. Horror, curses, sickness, and gritted teeth washed over Velvet's forces, and there were cries to help, friends who tried to rush forward, but they were held back. The elites hadn't moved, and so neither would they. At the fore, the team kept their guard. They'd grown careless before, and Krona did nothing without meaning. Powered by some great wound clockwork, the tinkling music began to screech as it slowed to half-tempo. The dancing carousel still grinding as the helpless workers and dead Eterans jerked and slowed, the tumbling puppets still twitching above them. BC, do you? I see it, BC said. At the back of the boathouse, torches lit the wall. With an order to hold, BC stepped around the carousel, ignoring the pleading gazes of the girls as they stood beneath the dangling Eteran soldiers. Written across the wall in scrawled crimson letters, there was a message. What shall you be? Dolls or puppets? End of Volume 1. A Slanted Reflection.